Okay, so welcome to data analysis with Excel. And in today's class, we are going to talk about pivot tables. So pivot table is a powerful tool to calculate, summarize, and analyze data in Excel. And it will help you to make comparisons, find patterns and trends in your data. So quickly, to create a pivot table, you need to select your data. So this is the data that we are going to use to create a pivot table. So this is a data of sales by geographical area, then by salesperson, products and amount. Alright, so I'll just click on the first field, which is salesperson. Then I come to insert. Then you choose pivot table. So when you choose pivot table, this dialog box will open. So the first one says select a table or range, and the table is selected already, or the data is selected already. But if you have data from an external source, you check this, use an external data source. But in our case, the data is here, so we don't need to choose from an external source. Then the next option is new worksheet or existing worksheet. So this is asking us where we want to create the pivot table. So if we allow it to be at new worksheet, then that means we want to create a pivot table on a new worksheet. But then if we choose existing worksheet, then the pivot table will be created in this same worksheet. So let's choose new worksheet. So you leave the default selections and press on OK. So once you click on OK, you see that a pivot table, a new worksheet is created, and the title is pivot table. Right. So quickly, let's look at the right hand side of our sheet. So this is the pivot fields, and under the fields we have a list of the headings in our data. So the headings in our data is listed here. Then below the fields column, there are 4 other boxes, and the first one is filters. This is used to create filters of our records. Then we have the rows column or the rows label. This is where if you want to create rows in your pivot table, you drag them to. Then we have the columns box. This is where you drag fields that you want to create as columns. Then we have the values field, and the values field is where you drag your values into. So in this value field, you can create some of your values, count, average, and so on. Then on the left hand side is where the pivot chart or where the pivot table will be built. So first of all, we have a list of fields from our table. So I want to select the products and amounts that was sold. So if you see that when I click on products, automatically it's pushed under rows, then amounts to is pushed under values. You can also hold and drag. So now I want to select per salesperson, so let me drag salesperson here. So you can either drag or you just click and it will be pushed automatically into the boxes. So now you see that a pivot table of our data is created. So we have the sum of amount. So 50% dark bytes, this is the total amount. Then this is a list of all the salesperson that sold this particular product. Right. Then we can also do filtering. We can push a field here to serve as filter. So when we want to filter per salesperson, we can just filter sales by Blafagni. So these are the products that was sold by this particular salesperson. Okay, so to get rid of the field from these boxes, you can just hold and drag back into the pivot table fields, right? Okay, and also we can arrange these fields in alphabetical order, and to do that you just click on any of the fields, then you come to analyze, then options, then you come to display. So here you can choose sort A to Z, and it will filter this alphabetically. So imagine you have plenty list of fields here and you want to sort them in alphabetical order. You can simply do that, right? And you can also create pivot charts in pivot tables. That is when you have your records. So now let's find the sales of each person, right? Now let me use the amount. So we want to find the amount of sales that was done by each salesperson. So there's a summary of the total sales done by each salesperson. And if we want to draw a simple bar chart for it, we can select all, then come to pivot chart. So this will create a chart for our records. So you can choose any of these, but let's choose the first one. We want a simple bar chart for it, right? So this is just a simple bar chart of our sales. This is just a simple bar chart of total sales that was done by each person. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the values, right? So when you click on this small arrow, you can choose value field settings. Then inside here there are a series of statistical functions that you can perform on your sales data. So we can decide to choose the count of the sales. So these are the count of sales done by each salesperson. You can come back here, click on this, choose average sales. Yes, so pivot table is very powerful in data analysis with Excel, as you can use it to do a lot of stuff. So basically this is an overview of how you can use pivot table to analyze your data in Excel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next lecture.